What is the poorest country in the world?
Africa.
What is the poorest country in the world?
Africa.
But bro, can someone please explain to me why did I think that all of Africa looked like this? Bro, Africa got buildings. They got power. They got towers. Swear on everything, bro. I thought it was just clay and tribes and tents, bro. Yeah, cause the ground be like, you know, like that red orange type of clay, bro. Chad, don't act like I'm stupid.
Greetings, my family. I hope you're well and welcome back to my channel. So across the world, Africa is often misunderstood. For decades, the Western media has painted a picture of Africa as nothing more than poverty, conflict, and disease. In fact, many Americans, they believe Africans will live in mud huts, They picture starving children all over and dangerous jungles. But is this really the truth about Africa, or a carefully crafted narrative designed to keep Africa in a box? Let's unpack what Americans think about Africans and reveal the real Africa the media doesn't want you to see. If you're new here, kindly consider subscribing so you never miss any update from my videos. Let's dive into it.
You about to raise my blood pressure, because if it's one thing I'm gonna do, that's advocate for Mama Africa. Now let's talk about some of these preconceived notions. They want you to believe Africa is poor, dangerous, and broken, and that narrative is outdated and it's intentional. Africa is one of the most resource-rich continents on the planet, holding vast reserves of gold, diamonds, cobalt, rare earth metals, and the raw materials that power the global tech economy. Not to mention, it's also the youngest continent in the world. And 60% of its population is under 25, meaning it's literally the future of innovation, creativity, and labor is already taking shape across the 54 countries. Or is it 55 countries now? But anyway, it's also home to the oldest human fossil. Africa is the blueprint. It's the cradle of modern humanity. And a lot of people speak about Africa and treat it like it's one country, but the continent is vast, it's diverse. Over 2,000 different languages are spoken, hundreds of different cultures, and some of the fastest growing economies on earth. So when outsiders use these preconceived notions to convince you a place is hopeless, it's often because they want to exploit it while you look the other way. And when people tell us, go back to Africa, baby, I pack my bags gladly. But if you only know the Africa they show you, baby, you won't know Africa at all.
Americans associate poverty with Africa because that's what American leadership wants you to think Africa looks like. The campaigns for, helping that African child, helping them get clean water. America has literally sold African Americans a story or a tale about the fact that all of Africa is just like a third world country. And that's just not true. They purposely showcase the poorest cities in Africa when they're talking about Africa, period, because they don't want you to think that where you came from has, any sustenance. They don't want you to think that life is pretty good out there too. You don't have to live in America to live a good life. But that's what American leadership would want you to think. Life is only good in America, and this is the land of the free, the home of the brave. There are so many things you can do here that you can't do in Africa, and Africa is just this poor ass third world continent. And that's just a lie, a bold-faced lie, and African Americans really have to stop believing it. I hear way too many African American people say things like, oh, you were living in huts and trees when you were in Africa, because a lot of African people did not come from living in those huts and trees.
The way the American media made it seem like Africa was just people living in huts everywhere. And quite literally, Africa is gorgeous. When you actually look at places, Africa's fucking gorgeous. Why the fuck did y'all not show that to me growing up? Literally growing up, I thought everyone who was in Africa lived in a hut. I didn't know that there were beautiful parts of Africa at all, because that just wasn't being shown. But they still exist. I'm like, bitch, why were we not seeing that? Like, I clearly didn't know that Africa was beautiful like that. And y'all clearly did that for a reason. Like, when you start to see how beautiful it is in some places, you're like, oh, okay, this is why you don't show us these parts. Because you don't want us to see, like, oh, Africa's actually beautiful. You want us to have this preconceived notion of what Africa is like, and you want us to judge off of that and only think Africa looks this one way and that it can't possibly look any other way. Because of the people who live there, of course. That's just insane to me. But yeah, Africa is fucking beautiful. They lied. Not to anyone's surprise, of course.
Interestingly, when Americans actually visit Africa, they are usually shocked, you know? Many are shocked to see modern highways, high-rise buildings, luxury resorts, and thriving economies that were never shown on TV. They meet Africans who are doctors, engineers, entrepreneurs, and innovators, not the images they were conditioned to expect.
Someone just sent me a video of the side of Africa that the media won't show you. Bro, let me just show you what Africa actually looks like.
It might surprise you, but many Americans genuinely believe that Africa is just one country. In reality, Africa has 54 nations, over 2,000 languages, and cultures as diverse as anywhere else in the world. From the deserts of Morocco, to the skyscrapers of Kenya, to the South African's wine regions, you know, to Nigeria's Nollywood film industry. Africa is not just one story, it's a million of stories, and yet the West reduces it into a single stereotype.
Africa is not singular. When someone says you are from Africa, you have to state where. Example, I am from the United States of America, right? I am from Oakland, California, okay? So that would mean I'm from California. When someone says and sees me from another country, they don't say, oh, he's North American. Because guess what? I'm from the United States of America, okay? They don't say that I'm North American. They know that I'm from North America because I'm from the United States of America, right? All right. So when you talk to someone, specifically from Africa, how about we say this? Hey, where are you from in Africa? What country are you from? Because each country has its own language. Each country has its own character, its own traits, its own people. You cannot say that someone is just African and in the conversation. That is what we call stupid, uneducated.
Don't go to Africa because Africa is dangerous. Aren't you getting tired of people saying that? I mean, I don't know why. It's like people that has never been to Africa before is always deeming Africa as being like this dangerous place. I mean, even though they have manipulated our mind for like the last past decades about Africa and how Africa is so dangerous that as soon as you land, like somebody's going to fucking kidnap you. Do you not know that that stuff here happens here too in the USA? I'm sorry to say, but every time I go to Africa, I feel more safe in Africa than I do over here in the USA. I mean, the people are like super friendly over there. The ambience of the restaurants are like to die for. I mean, everybody is hustling and minding their own business. Stop listening to people when people tell you that Africa is dangerous and like they're gonna just take off with you as soon as you get there. Stop listening to people who has never been or traveled outside of their hometown, let alone outside of the country. Now, if you know me, I'm an international traveler and I take people over to Africa. And that's what I do for a living. I have also set up other successful businesses over in Africa, and I like to teach you how to make money as well. But first things first, you have to literally stop believing people when they tell you that Africa is this dangerous place, because Africa is so beautiful. The first time I went to Africa, I literally went alone, and I'm standing right here on this TikTok video today telling you how I went to Africa. So that literally proves how safe it is. If Africa was that dangerous, I literally would not be taking people over there to Africa. Trust me. People that say that Africa is dangerous, they probably haven't been watching the news over here in the USA lately. So stop believing what people say, because literally people would trick you out of traveling and have you stuck and stagnant just like them.
Africa is dangerous. Yeah. Imagine my friend yesterday, I posted on my story about the 6 months that I lived in Africa and how I can't wait to go back this year. And this brother said to me, he said, man, Africa is dangerous. My brother, you live in Chirac. Yes, home of King Von, the serial unaliver, Chief Keef. We saw what happened over Juneteenth weekend. I mean, come on, man. It's dangerous in the States. And I think that's one of the things that they use to scare us, fear, instilling fear in us and saying, oh, this is dangerous. Oh, this is scary. Don't do this, right? And if you listen to that and you internalize it, you realize that, it makes you not want to leave your environment. It makes you want to stay trapped in a potentially very dangerous environment, more so than where you want to go or travel to. It's almost like the lie when they tell us that Africans hate us. I'm going to do a video about that, so look out for that. It's like, no, don't do this because this thing is scary or it's bad. It's like when people used to say money is the root of all evil. You're using scare tactics and fear mongering to prevent people from wanting to branch out and do other things that may help their lives or expand their consciousness. Listen, go visit Africa, man. It's beautiful and they love us as Black Americans. We are one. Peace from Khalid.
For years, Hollywood and Western news outlets have shown only one side of Africa, Images of famine in Ethiopia in the 80s, wars in Somalia, and Ebola outbreaks in West Africa, they dominate the headlines. Rarely do they show thriving cities, like Nairobi, Lagos, Johannesburg, or Accra. They never highlight Africa's booming tech hub, its fashion, its music, or billion-dollar economies, This selective storytelling has shaped how millions of Americans view Africa dirty, poor, and hopeless.
When I first came to America, one thing I couldn't wrap my head around is how Americans view Africa. Like, no matter how much, the way they talked about, I couldn't believe they were being real. But bruh, being here for a couple of years, I'm just saying, I'm starting to see where they're coming from. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that right on how they view Africa, because these people genuinely think we live in huts or village houses. Like, if you tell an American you're from Africa, they'll be like, oh, so how was it in your little village or tribe? Like that. They don't believe the cities there. Anyways, that was until I saw the adverts they have on TV. When I tell you, bruh, you won't recognize your own country. I used to see adverts like, oh, help a child in Uganda for $1. You can help a starving child in Uganda. Me personally, I've never been to Uganda. So I was like, maybe that's how Uganda is. Until I was watching another ad and I felt so sorry for the kid. They have a child there. He's there pointing at his mouth for $1. You know what I mean? They make it really sad. And then at the end, I hear, help a kid in Zambia. Bruh, even I didn't recognize my own country. Where do they go to shoot those films? I've never been there. Where they filmed that, I don't know where that is. Like, did they... What?
Africa is not what the Western media shows you, and it is not one country, and it's not defined by poverty. It's a continent full of life, opportunity, culture, and innovations, Americans and the rest of the world, they deserve to know this truth. Because the Africa of today is rising, and no amount of false media narratives can hide that reality forever. So the next time someone asks you, what do you think of Africa? Make sure the answer is based on facts, not fiction, It is a continent of power, resilience, and unstoppable potential. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share. Have a good one. I'll see you in the next video.